Scrapologist, thanks for coming back to my channel. Today I am doing a little bit of book repair on a book that I want to keep in my library. I originally bought this book because I wanted to use the interior book pages for some junk journals. I like the patina of them, the aging, and also they have a neat texture. They're a little thicker than regular paper. But as I always do before I tear apart a book, I like to read it, especially if it's from the 1800s or older. It's fun to try to read these books. And I actually ended up enjoying this book, and I liked the pictures. There's not a lot of them, but the artwork was really fun. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to fix this and put it in my library. Why not? So I thought I'd bring you along for the ride in case you have a book that you would like to repair the spine on. The front cover obviously fell off, and I was going to show you how to remove the spine, but it fell off. So I'll just tell you real quickly what I did. If you go to, what's a good way to show this now that it's fallen off? Well, you can kind of see here. You see where there's a groove there? So this area right here is the edge of the book board. So that's where you want to cut to remove your spine. It fell off the back. Well, I cut it off the back, but then the rest of it fell off. So I guess you can kind of see how I did it. So the book board ends right here, and I went in with my X-Acto knife and a ruler and just cut in about 1/8 of an inch from the end of the book board. I hope you can see that. So in other words, you don't want to go to the end of the book board and just cut down like that, because you're going to cut through your pages. And this back cover is still on, and I didn't want to cut that off. See, if you do that, you're going to cut here, and you're going to cut your cover right off. So so carefully cut your spine off. I'm going to try to preserve some of this if I can. The R is a little damaged and gone, and this bottom part is really torn, and it's almost torn in half here. But I'm going to try to salvage maybe this amount of it to replace it on the spine. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm going to set this aside for now. So the first thing we want to do is make a new spine. So let me set the cover aside. So the first thing you want to do is determine the width of your spine, and that's easy enough. Just take your ruler and measure as precisely as you can. Now keep in mind that your spine is going to be a little wider than the book, so don't measure here or anything. You do want to measure the spine itself, and then you want to measure the height of your book. So the one that I'm working on is 1 and about 15/16 by 8 3/8. So to make the first part of the spine, you want to take something that is about the thickness of a manila folder. I am using a manila folder here because it's the only thing I had on hand, and also manila folders are not archival. So if you are doing a very precious book, something that's precious to you, well, don't watch my video. Go to a book restoration video and do it right. So, but I don't really care all that much about this book. I just want to have it because I might want to read it again or gift it to somebody who might like Robin Hood or whatever. I just want to preserve the book a little bit. But the manila folder is not archival. So keep that in mind depending on how valuable the book is to you. So I just cut a manila folder the exact height and width of my spine. And if you're doing an actual book conservation project, you want to check the grain of your paper to make sure it's parallel to the spine, and there's a lot more involved. I'm showing you the simple budget version, which is what I am, simple and budget. Okay, so let's just check this. I pre-cut this, and it fits the spine really nicely. The next thing you need is a piece of book cloth or something similar. Now there are a ton of videos out there on how to make your own book cloth, so I'm not going to talk about that right here. I did not have any, I don't have any solid fabric in my stash. I would have liked to have had a piece of green. This looks a little blue actually on my screen right now, but this is a nice forest green, which is a good color for Robin Hood. It was the color of the Merry Men's little uniforms and their tights and stuff. And but I don't have anything like this in my stash, and I didn't want to go out and buy something specifically. I do, however, have yards and yards and yards of faux leather in my stash. This is what I cover most of my spines with. It's durable and it doesn't fray, and it's already backed properly to be able to use it as book cloth. So that's what I'm using, and this is going to be measured the height of your book. So mine is 8 3/8, and you need to add 2 inches. We need an extra inch up here. We need an extra inch down here. So my spine is 8 3/8. My book cloth faux leather is 10 3/8. And then just gauge how wide you want it to be, and just sort of play with it and wrap around until you get, you want it about an inch, wrapping around both sides. And don't worry about if you have words or artwork over here that you don't want to cover. If this ends up covering kind of like that, don't worry about it, because you may be able to stick it under the existing book cloth, which is what I'm going to try to do, because I just really want this fabric on the spine. I don't want it wrapping over because it doesn't match perfectly, or it doesn't match as well as I'd like to. So the book cloth, you need the height of the spine plus an inch on the tail and an inch on the head. So next you need some glue. Now I do happen to have PVA glue I get from Talus. They're a wonderful book supplier, I guess would be the right term, but you can use Mod Podge or whatever adhesive you have on hand. And we're going to turn this over, and the first thing we're going to do is attach this piece of manila folder to the center of the book cloth. We're going to glue it down. Let me get my glue. And I need to buy some new paintbrushes. So I'm just using this little wonky one. And you don't need a super thick, you don't want to glob it on, but you want to make sure that you have good coverage. Put that in my little jug of water there. Oops, I don't have any on the corner. There we go. And then I'm just going to eyeball it. Put that in the center. Try to center it top to bottom and side to side as best as you can. And where's my bone folder? Here we go. Just make sure that it's on there nice and tight. Is that nice and tight? I don't know. Make sure it's adhered very well. It's Saturday, so my brain doesn't go into gear fully on Saturdays. It's my fun day where I don't have to think. All right, let me close up my PVA. Take a sip of my smoothie, my kale and berry smoothie. Probably looks gross on camera. Okay. The next thing you want to do, if you have book cloth, you want to kind of crease it. But the fabric that I'm using, it doesn't really make a crease. So I'm going to draw a line across the bottom of my manila folder piece. And across that's the tail, and across the head, but I'm going to flip it this way. And then you want to make 2 more lines, 4 more lines actually, at the width. So here, well, let me do it this way. Here and here. And then here and here. Okay, so this is what you have now. All right. The next thing we want to do is we need to make some little tabs. I don't know what the sewing term would be. I'm sure there's a sewing term, but I don't sew except onto book pages. So in comments below, let me know what the term for this would be. A dart? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. So you want to just kind of, let me draw it first. So this section here and this section here, again, just eyeballing it, you want to remove. Okay, and you're going to do the same on the top and the bottom. And let me go get my fabric scissors. Oh, and by the way, you do not want to cut all the way up to the line. You want to leave just a tiny bit. I don't know that that's going to show on the camera, but I'm not going to go all the way up to the line. Let's see. Barely under it. I didn't cut that very well. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. I think I'm going to be able to demonstrate it for you. So when you fold, we're going to fold this up. When you fold this up, these other two should come up with it. You don't want them to just stay down. Okay, you want just a little bit because we're going to eventually fold these up too. So I don't know how else to kind of show you that because it's such close-up work. But the main thing is do not cut all the way up to this line. Let's do the other one. Okay, so let me get out my mat. And the first thing we're going to do is put a little glue on the center tabs and fold them up like this. You see how my tabs are wanting to come up? That's good. That's a good thing. Got a little extra fabric here. Let me cut that off. Okay. Oops, I put my glue away. Forgot. So now let's try, let me show you why we have these tabs. when we wrap this around, we're actually going to put these tabs, they're going to end up on the inside. They're going to end up on the inside of the book like this to help adhere everything together. So as I had mentioned, I got glue on that, and it stains this faux leather. Should have been more careful. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want the faux leather on the top. I want to put it under here. Sometimes with these old books, you can take a spatula or some kind of tool and carefully lift it up from the chipboard underneath. So I'm going to try to do that. Oopsie. It's not coming up super easy. Oh, you know why? It's folded over the top. But I really want it under there, so I'm going to just patiently keep working with this and see what I can do. There. And I did have to tear it a little bit there. I didn't have to be quite so violent with it, but did it by accident. Okay. Now we have some pulled up. And I do have some paper here from the end paper that I need to cut off because that is going to be in the way. So now I have the book cloth, and I mean the book cover, and I've pulled it away about an inch. Unfortunately, the end paper, I had to cut that off, but that's okay. I can fix that later too. So let me get rid of all the dust and crumbs here. Quite often you get a lot of dirt and dried glue, old glue and stuff, and you just want to keep your work surface clean so that that doesn't stick to anything that you're doing. Okay, so now what we want to do is this is going to go under here. Okay. So the width of the tab is how much should be under your book. So it should be in about that far. Oops, I got another piece of cover there that needs to go. Let me just clean this up. Okay. So more glue. And we're just going to put glue on this part, not on the tabs yet. And try not to put any glue on your spine. Just all right. So let's go ahead and put this down as best as I can. It's easier to turn it over and work this way, at least for me. Make sure that it's even. Top and bottom. Okay. Good. And we'll deal with this this puppy later. And let's do the same with the back, and hopefully this comes off as well. And let's do the same here. Again, getting rid of those crumbs. Okay, let me make sure that I have this. I'm not putting this on upside down, which is something I'm famous for. I don't know how I'm managing to get glue all over the place, but I am. You've heard in my videos, I hate glue. Glue hates me. Okay, let's flip it. Whoops, I put that one on really wonky. Let's try to get this more even. There we go. Even up and down, side to side. Let's see how that is. Sorry, I keep going off camera. It's hard for me to work with my arms outstretched. My light is not in a great place right now. Okay. All right, that seems to be fitting. It's not exactly perfect. I've got a little bit there, but that's okay. So now let's glue this down. I'm going to try to scrape some of the old paper off just to clean it up a little bit. Clean this up. Let's glue this now. Put your glue on this section, not on this, because otherwise you might over glue it. So you just want to go to the end. Let's squeegee any excess glue out of here. I like the way that's looking. Okay. Let's do this. Let's fix the back. Here's what we have so far. Not looking too bad. And let's glue the back. Okay, I had to leave for a second. I'm back. So the next thing that we want to do is we're going to take these flaps here and glue them down. And I like to close the book first before I put them on. So let's just put the glue on, close the book, and then affix the tabs. You'll notice, by the way, that does not fix, that's not going to make this look like this, because this actually was a hollow back book. And if I see, when you open it, you see how it has that. So if I just took glue and put it all over here and stuck this on, it's not going to open and close properly. So I'm going to show you, after we fix this, how I'm going to repair this hollow back binding. So it's supposed to look like this right now, but if you have the kind of book that wasn't hollow back and you can just glue that on, then you can do that. Whoops. Yeah, I guess that'll work. Okay. I usually open it like this first. Okay. But I guess that's going to work okay, just leaving it open. Sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going to speed this up. I'm going to do that to all 4 tabs. Okay, I went off and put that in the book press and just let it dry. You don't have to put it in a book press. I just like to do that since I have one. You know, why not? And put some things in here so that the glue wouldn't stick to the pages. So now we're left with it looking like this, and we need to fix this. I have no idea how to properly do this. Okay, so I'm not an expert on this. This is just how I do it, and there might be a better way. If you don't like this method particularly, you can go and Google how to repair a hollow back binding. But what I do is I take the width of the spine, multiply it times 2, and then add a few inches. And then I cut out the end of a Tyvek envelope. I have a bunch of these, and I cut the end part off, and it's well, that way all I have to do is slit one side and it's already folded for me. But you could certainly cut a bigger piece and fold it in half. This is why we do this, and it needs to be the length of your book. Mine's a little too long here. I didn't cut properly. Whoops. Sometimes my rotary cutter doesn't like Tyvek. Let's see if I did a better job there. Nope. You don't want this sticking out the top. Better. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to have this part here. And by the way, there is a bookbinder's tape that already has, it's folded over and has flaps that you can just buy if this is an important book to you. You might want to research that as well. But I'm going to do it the cheapo way with Tyvek. So I don't know the best way to do this on camera. So I have this up against my spine. And what we're going to do, and this is way too tall, I'm going to trim it down, but what we're going to do is fold this one over so that it's on here, and fold this one over so it's on here, and that's going to be our binding. I don't really have anything but white Tyvek. I would prefer if something that looked a little nicer, but this is all I have for right now, so that's what I'm going with. So I'm just going to put a crease in this so that I know how high my spine goes. And this is a little too much, so I'm going to cut that down a little bit. I think that's a little better. That's how much we'll be flipping over the book. And the reason that I did the crease is because these two pieces on this section you want to glue together. So when you open it up, glue these two center pieces together. And actually I'm going to use double-sided tape, which works just as well. So this is what we have, and I'm going to fold that there, tape those together, and then we're going to have two flaps. Just double check the height of that. Looks good. Yes. Okay, so now I'm going to glue this to the spine. I'm not going to glue this section yet. I'm just going to put glue on the spine and attach this. So again, I'm using my PVA, but Mod Podge will work just as fine. See if I'll be able to do this on camera. Whoopsie. Okay, so now I'm going to put this on there. Make sure it's even top to bottom. Burnish it down. Make sure it's on there really well. Okay. Now I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to affix this to my page right here. And actually on this side it's going to get covered up because I'm going to then, it's going to get covered up a little bit. I'm going to then put this back on there. So let's put a little more glue on. And be really careful with this part because you don't want the glue smushing out all over your page. In my case, I don't care. Doesn't have to be super neat, but you don't want it smushing all over the place. And I like to put it down and then put the other cover up. And I think that that gives it better placement when you do that. So, okay. So now we know where it needs to be exactly, and I'm going to crease it in because again the spine is a little bit bigger. I want that nice little crease there. Burnish, burnish, burnish. Make sure that glue's on there nice and good. Somehow I managed to get a big glob of glue down here. I'm not going to keep saying, I hate glue. I'm not going to keep saying it. You get the idea. You get the idea that I don't do well with glue. Alright, now we're going to do the same with this flap. I'm going to put some glue there. And you don't want to put it on your spine, you just want to put it on the flap. I tried looking at some videos, Googling videos for repairing a hollow back binding, but everyone that I found uses that special tape, that bookbinder's tape. I can't even remember what it's called. So I don't want to purchase that, so I just kind of developed my own method. Okay, and we're going to do the same here. Go like this. Sorry, I'm off camera. Was I off camera the whole time? Okay, okay. So we have it where it needs to be. Very good. And just put a little piece of card in there so it doesn't stick while I just check the whole book out. It's not something a conservator would do, but it works for me. All right. So now our spine is okay up here. I didn't do a great job with the tab right there. It's probably too late to fix that. No, I could glue it down a little better. There. Actually, yeah, okay. And so now the last thing I want to do, I'm just going to, I could make some kind of a hinge so that this still opens. It shows how much I paid for the book, $3. But I'm just going to go ahead and tape this down. And I'm even just going to use my tape runner. Again, I'm not going for pristine book conservatorship. I'm just trying to make it so I can read it again if I want to. So I'm just going to put that on there. It's not pretty and pristine, but it is certainly not going to fall apart. So there we go. From what I had this morning to, I did a terrible job on this tab. I think I'll probably pull that off and fix it. Yeah, I'll do that. Pull that off and fix it. But yeah, it'll look really nice on my bookshelf. Okay, so I finished the video, cleaned up the entire mess, put everything away, and then and then came across my spine and realized I hadn't put this on. So there's one more section to this video. I'm just going to quickly put this on. And of course I put everything away, so let's see. And I think I'm just going to cut it down to where this tear is. Just cut it across there. Oopsie. Better hold it. It's very flimsy, very fragile. Okay, and believe it or not, I use these on junk journal pages, so save these if you have them. And I'm going to cut this off because it's too wide for this spine. I don't want this wrapping around. So let me carefully try to cut this down. Oh, that came right off. That's good. And I don't know. I think I'll even up this side. Take my glue back out, my paintbrush. This was buried under stuff and I completely forgot about it. Trying not to get glue on the front of it. But knowing me, I did anyway. Yep, I did. That's okay. There. Okay. There we go. Would have looked better, like I said, if I really had a color that went a little better for my book cloth than this leather, but this is still going to look okay on my bookshelf. I'm happy with it. And there we go. Okay, I'm really done with the video this time. Bye!